Good morning, broadcasters. 360 Seconds news and commentary for broadcast professionals is on the air. I'm Maria Kholodova from TKT. Let's discuss the latest technological news with our respected experts, Philip Grossman and Mary Seidler. Don't forget to give the program a like. Clearcom Arcadia Central Station now supports integration with HelixNet digital party line. In a 1R.U package, Arcadia powers the wired and wireless analog and digital intercom systems, together with Dante connectivity. This latest set of features also includes a 5 gigahertz scanning tool for free speak edge systems. Now, Mary, I know you were curious about some of the aspects of this.
I do. I think what's happening in the world of intercom is pretty exciting. Philip, how do you see this simplifying workflows?
As we go to remote productions, we've lived them for the last 2 years. The ability to communicate with your team members is very important, and the concept of a party line where everybody can talk to one another at the same time on a single line is very similar to everybody being in a control room and being able to shout and talk. So we're starting to see these technologies be utilized to be able to push people to the edge, to where production teams can be co-located or separated across the United States, across the world, and still be able to produce large, professional production. So it's kind of interesting to see where these technologies are going.
Do you see, we've all had a lot of shakeups technologically in the past 2 years, and intercom has always been pretty stable, not a ton of new advances. Do you see this really kind of shaking up the world of intercom and making it more accessible?
I don't know if I'd say shaking it up, but definitely making it more accessible, simplifying it. Intercom takes a lot of technology from what would be the telecom industry, obviously. And they're now simplifying it, making it easier for teams to utilize the technologies without having to require a PhD from MIT to set them up.
Right, now moving on to the Alexa 35 digital camera. It's the first to feature a completely new sensor, the 4.K ALEF 4, delivering 2.5 stops more dynamic range, better low light performance, and richer colors. Philip, how do you think that this is going to change camera operations in general?
So it's exciting. This camera was announced a while back, or leaked, announced, and then it finally came out. So it's a year or so, I think, since the first announcement. What's interesting, it's a Super 35 millimeter sensor. We've seen a lot of cameras come out recently that are full frame, and ARRI is stuck with Super 35. And I personally think that that's probably a sensor here to stay for a long time. The dynamic range is always one of those things that manufacturers tend to sort of push the measurement boundaries on what they can actually get. But from some of the early testing that I've seen, it looks like ARRI really did get it 17 stops or so of dynamic range, and they're known for their color science and just high-end, movie production. So I think, and it's also a 4.6K sensor, where a lot of ARRI's earlier sensors weren't actually 4K; they were 3.5, 3.6K. So this is a true 4K, greater than 4K sensor. So I think it's really going to provide a lot more tools for filmmakers when it comes to creating movies, and that 17 stops of dynamic range is really something that could give a lot of directors and cinematographers that extra little oomph in the creative realm, from lighting to storytelling. So I'm excited to see it. It's an expensive camera. I don't think I'll be owning one, but I look forward to being able to use one shortly.
Now the 4A will showcase at Infocom its range of IP-based solutions powered by transport technology from Amex, and demonstrate its system for deploying 12G SDI 4K live production. And Mary, I know you were also curious about this.
12G, wow. So Philip, what do you think that will do for live production?
Well, it's funny. There was I forget who, and I don't think it was 4A, but it was, the thing was SDI is dead. SDI is dead. It was every NAB and IBC for the last 10 years. SDI is never going away. One part reasons is televisions. It doesn't make sense to have a very expensive network switch and a 25 gig SFP to plug into the back of a TV. First of all, we can barely get them to even put SDI on the back of a TV. You still have to use a box to convert it to HDMI. So it's interesting to see more and more manufacturers adopting 12G technology, which for those who aren't familiar with 12G allows you to do 4K 60p images. So you're going to see a lot more 4K images on set, a lot more 4K cameras. And so for technologies that haven't quite made the jump to IP, you're going to have SDI and the 12G cabling for it. And it's just a lot less expensive, a lot less complicated to do 4K with SDI than it is with IP. And I'm a big fan of IP and all the things it can do. But these technologies are really going to make simplify that process, especially on set or in a studio. So I'm excited to see where they're going with these technologies.
Okay, well, that's all the time we have for today. Many thanks to our experts, Philip and Mary. We will see you next Monday at the same time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.